Hello and welcome to Keeping It Young podcast, conversations about marriage, family, and ministry life. I'm Dave.
And I'm Bethany.
And we are the Youngs.
And we're so glad you've joined us.
Thank you so much for tuning in the last couple of weeks as we've been doing this brand new series called Caring for Aging Parents.
He had to look at his notes.
I had to look at my notes to remember what we titled it. But it has been such an important topic. We've been down this journey. Many of our friends are beginning to go down this journey. We have people in our church family that are walking down this journey.
Yes.
And there's just, it's an important topic, and I sure hope it's been a help to you. You certainly can still reach out with your questions or your comments. We have loved hearing those, reading those, and so thank you for taking the time to do so. You that are probably in the midst of caregiving may not even have the time to comment or send out a question.
Right.
But we do hope that our series here has been a great help and a great asset to you. Is there anything we need to cover before we jump in here and get going?
I think last week we reviewed extensively, and I think just kind of elaborated on a few of the points that we had maybe flown through the week before. So we had just finished talking about being practical, make caregiving a practical matter, handle it reasonably, practically, and as David stated, as an adult would handle it instead of everyone losing their minds, which does happen. And unfortunately, then the one who suffers really is the aging parent who needs care.
Yes.
Because they just feel kind of pulled from all different directions. So handle things wisely, handle things practically, and it just does make things go so much smoother.
And for whatever it's worth, if you have been designated by your parents with the power of attorney, if you're the one who've been designated by your parents as the one in charge, if you have the power of the money, but you have a sibling who is just being difficult, a sibling who is determined, who, I want in on this, but there's no help. Sometimes you do have to just make the hard decision of saying, you know what, you're not welcome. And that is one of the most difficult things in the world. But if that has to be done, because sometimes in a family you have one sibling who is just far from God, or who is just selfish, who has maybe been spoiled, right. Or who is just unwise about how they handle things. They are maybe bitter, maybe angry. Well, at a caregiving time is not the time to solve those kind of problems. Sometimes at that point, you simply have to wash your hands of that side of the relationship in order to focus on the one that's important, and that is caring for the parents. Now, that's a hard thing to say.
Well, and it can go the other way too. It could be that the caregiver is the one who is being selfish, who is denying access to her siblings, his or her siblings, to the parent, and just making things difficult. And unfortunately, there's not much you could do for that either. You can try to communicate, have a conversation, and just say, hey, I'd really like to help. I'd love to help you, and I'd really love to see mom or dad. How could we work this out? If the sibling who's in charge is just not helping, then try to communicate with your parent as much as possible. You can write them letters, you can call them, you can text them. You could just show up unannounced and just say, hey, I am going to see mom today. I just want a few minutes with her, and I promise I'll get out of your way. So just handle it as gracefully as possible.
And remember that a soft answer turns away wrath. And remember that sometimes you just have to do the right thing regardless.
Yes.
And so it's a very difficult matter. This is a time when you can see some of the greatest acts of love, but some of the greatest acts of carnality and selfishness as well.
Unfortunately.
And it is unfortunate. So we were closed last week with about making this a practical matter. We talked about preparing wisely, planning carefully, talking continually. And let's pick up there and talk about just one more item underneath that. Schedule specific responsibilities.
Yes.
And that has to be someone who's pretty organized, but there's at least 2 or 3 different areas of responsibilities. There's living arrangements, and that can even change. If one parent or one person is the primary caregiver in the living arrangements, even that sometimes has to be, altered. So that has to all be, planned ahead carefully, scheduled wisely. Like, if someone's going on vacation and can't take care of mom or dad during that time, someone else has to know that well in advance and be prepared.
Yes.
On, who's going to come, are they going to just move into your house? Are they going to come to your area? And there's just a lot to go on there. So One area is who's in charge of living arrangements, who's in charge of driving arrangements. And that means appointments and events. Who's going to get mom to this? Who's going to get dad to that?
Right.
And so you schedule that. And the other one is financial arrangements. Who's in charge of making the financial decisions? Who writes the check when mom is not able to think clearly enough to write the check? Who's aware of taking care of the insurance? Who connects with whose name is on it, so that when the insurance calls based on privacy laws and all that, or the hospital needs to tell somebody.
Yes.
All of that has to be thought through and wisely handled. So that goes under this idea of making this a practical matter as much as possible. So really 2 more areas we want to talk about, and we will close out the series. And the next one is about knowing your limitations. That's a big one, and we need to park on this one a few moments, because nobody is able to do everything. And we are all limited. There are many things that can be done. Many things that can be done.
And it is amazing, and I think my sister would testify to this, because the caregiving that she offered my mom towards the end of mom's life, it was 24/7. She needed to sleep in her room. She needed to constantly be aware of mom. And she did have some help, and there were a few times I was able to fly in and stay with mom. But she would testify that it's amazing what you can do if you absolutely have to. And I know we had several hospice nurses that would visit, and they all commented on, I can't believe you girls are doing this, because we constantly, when a parent gets to this level of care, most people are, no, I'm not doing this. I'm going to put them in a facility. And sometimes you have to do that. So there is no guilt tripping here. But what mom needed, we could do. And specifically my sister, she could do. We could give her medication. We could give her IV. We could do all of that stuff. But they did comment how that it is a very rare thing. But what Tori did discover was, okay, the Lord is going to strengthen me. I do know after mom passed away and most of things were all shored up and the funeral was over and the house was clean, that I think she probably slept for a month straight.
Sure, but what she learned during that time was that, she could help your mom with getting her clean, taking showers and baths. And
oh, yes.
She could help her with her bathroom necessities.
Yes.
And all those things are never, anybody's plan. Nobody wants to handle that. When the time comes that is needed, we are all well able to do that.
Yes, and there are way too many even Christian people who just say right out loud, I will not do that. I will not do that for my parent. And there could be many reasons. It could be that you have physical limitations and it just would be too difficult on you. And there are things that parents go through that, you do have to kind of make that difficult decision of putting them in a care facility, and we'll talk about that. But it is amazing what you can do if through Christian love and grace and humility, you just buckle down and you do it. And those were some sweet times.
Sure. And it is getting harder in our culture, because in our culture, the idea is, I don't want to be bothered. And it's one of the reasons people don't want children in our culture, because children demand your attention, your time, 24/7. They do cost you your money. It is a lot of work. And we have a culture that doesn't want to have to make meals for other people.
Right.
That doesn't want to have to clothe the baby, bathe the baby. And sometimes in our culture, we live in a culture where, everything is a bother. Oh my word, we have to bathe the baby again. And oh my word, we have to feed the baby 3 meals a day. And this idea, well, yes, because that's how God designed it. He designed us to work, to have relationships, to take care of each other. And yes, parents do that for their children. And as they get older, God's expectation is that children, to the best of their ability, do that for their parents.
Right.
And so if it's because you can't, because, there's a physical limitation, or because there is a situation in which a parent must have someone who knows more than you are capable of doing, if it's just the practical things of taking care of a parent, the fact of the matter is it can be done.
Yes.
So you have to begin by realizing some things can be done and it's right to do them.
Yes.
At the same time, we can also say there are some things that cannot be done.
Right.
Meaning there are times that you just don't have the ability to take care of the parent's level of need.
Yes.
And, it may be that the parent is dealing with some kind of illness or medication or situation. Maybe the parent is heavy And it just, you don't have the equipment necessary to help that parent at their size of their weight
Oh, right.
to do things. Well, then that has to be taken into consideration.
Right.
It may be that their situation, they are very ill. And you are limited there because what they need is a professional to handle their illness.
Right.
So you do have to realize there are some things that cannot be done. And if you have done everything in your power to do the things that can be done, and now there's something that you're just limited, it's not a time to beat yourself up.
True.
It's a time to back up to last week's teaching and be practical.
Yes.
And take the practical steps. And there are no doubt, no matter what you're, able to do or unable to do, there are just times you need a break. And what I have noticed, and have you seen this? A lot of times when people are caregiving, the caregiver oftentimes is the one who is the most burdened about, I need to do this because it's the right thing to do, and I'll make the sacrifice and do it. So they carry that weight.
Yes.
But on the other side of that, God bless them for doing it because it's their spiritual gift probably to
Yes.
care. But on the other hand, they can become very guilty because if they take a short break, if they do take a week of vacation and leave, and then there's even a fear, there's a guilt factor. Oh my goodness, I should be there. I should be the one taking care. There's a guilt factor, but on the other hand, there's a fear factor. What if mom or dad passes away while I'm vacationing in Myrtle Beach? Well, the fact of the matter is, parents pass away all the time while their kids are at work or on vacation or
Right.
or at a ball game. That's the normal event of life. So your limitation, you've got to know your limitation there.
Yes.
There's things you can do, but there's things you cannot. So know that limitation, and then don't live in guilt or fear.
Right.
Don't play that game because it's going to be hard enough without spinning it into some kind of emotional
Right.
quandary in your own spirit. Does that make sense?
Yes. And also with the parent who needs care, they can get very attached to the caregiver.
Yes.
So I know when I had to spend a couple of weeks with mom right after she had gotten out of rehab after she had a hip and femur replacement. And we spent 24/7 together. But the nurses did tell me, and the doctor told me, they said, okay, at the end of that, she's doing well. You need to let her take over and do it herself. She'll be fine because she does know how to move. She knows how to get up off the couch and back down on the couch by herself. She can shower by herself. When she gets to that point, you do need to back off. And I do remember even my mom being as independent as she was, it was hard for her. She did not want me to go. And she said, I don't think I can do it. And I said, the doctor said you could. And she was limited in her driving. She could not drive yet. There were going to be another couple weeks before she could. So the doctor had said, you need to set up people who will be able to drive her to her appointments. And so before I left, a couple days before I left, I called one of my mom's really good friends and I said, can you take her to an appointment? And she said, I have been waiting for you to ask me to do something. I can't wait. I'll be right there. So she came, and the whole time out to the car, my mom was kind of complaining. She was like, I can't believe you're doing this to me. You should be taking me to this appointment. You know how to do this, and she doesn't know how to do it. And anyway, got her in the car, and I just waved. And when they got back, they were laughing hysterically. They'd had a wonderful time. So do be aware that the parent may be not for you taking a break at all and may try to make you feel guilty. Now, my mom didn't try to make me feel guilty, but she was just concerned. So just be very aware. Now, towards the end of mom's life, she was very attached to my sister. My sister had been there for everything towards the end. And so when I did come to take over, there were times that my mom would say, no, Tori knows how to do this. You don't know how to do it. You just go get Tori. And so poor Tori, who was trying to rest, I would have to go get her. So that's a little understandable. But if you need a break, go ahead and take one. Smile at your parent, wave at your parent. They're going to be just fine. Because the person that obviously that you choose to help come take over isn't going to do anything that would hurt your parent. So take those breaks, you need them.
One of the things I observed when you were taking care of your mother was that you guys, and some families probably can't do this, But you guys had a sense of humor about the whole thing, even though it was serious.
It was.
Even though we knew Mom was nearing death.
Yes.
She kept a sense of humor. That
She
was
did.
that was a help. So there was just so many funny things that happened, and even things that, as Mom was coming to the end and really didn't know a great deal, there was still a lot of funny things. And just the way, sometimes she would say things or the way she would do things, and it's okay to laugh. And especially if your mom is nearing heaven, because that's a joy in knowing, we miss Mom. We wish the Lord had let us have many more years with her. But there's great joy and peace in knowing that, my goodness, she's completely healed of all the cancer. She's very happy. There's no way, she would come back if she could. She would not
right.
want to. And so knowing that brings peace to your heart, but there's joy in that. And there's some time for laughter. And there's still things that, the Overton children lived in Mom's home during those days as their mother was taking care of Mom Dennis. And so Bethley's sister's family is the Overton family, and her sister and her husband and children. But the kids would find humor in things, and they would just laugh and tease, that they learned to even tease her during the closing hours of her life. And she would, laugh about things.
Yes, and tease right back.
And so it became a family affair that became a blessing and not a curse.
Yes.
Even though it was a whole lot of, hard work. So know your limitations is what we're saying there.
Yes.
And then in the time we have today, we have just some questions that have come in. And here are two primary ones. We've kind of lumped a few into to these two primary ones. How do you handle difficult parents in this season of life? How do you when your parents are just difficult? They're cantankerous, they're angry, they're bitter, they're hard to get along with, they're mean.
Right.
How do you handle it? Well, maybe three things I would say to you here, Bethany and I. Number one, do the right thing.
Yes.
You just have to know this is what's right. The right thing is to keep caring. The right thing may be to allow someone else to do the caring.
Right.
And if you can't, you can't. If your parent won't let you, if they're difficult and challenging and you just need help, the right thing, do what you can. It is always good to do what you can. But there are times where you just have to step back and let someone else do it.
Right.
And that's all you can do. So do the right thing. And then I guess we could say do the hard thing. And
Yes.
maybe that's a little redundant because maybe the hard thing is the right thing.
Right.
But by the hard thing, I mean, you may have to choose a nursing home. You may
Right.
be at your limit to say, I can't do this anymore. I'm not able. My mom and dad won't let me. Mom and dad, they fight me and I just can't handle this. And so
Right.
I'm going to have to turn it over to someone where they have the ability to know how to make this happen, even if you're being difficult.
Yes.
And that's very hard. There's nursing home facilities or assisted living facilities, but don't make this alone. So give someone veto power in your life for at least a short time.
Yes.
Because sometimes in the immediate emotion of a challenging situation, decisions can be made that aren't wise because they're being made in the emotion.
Right.
So communicate the decisions you are making, and at least have someone who you at least have said to them, I'm going to give you veto power for a week. When I make a decision, if you think it's an unwise decision, you tell me, and my promise to you is that I will wait 1 week before I sign on the dotted line about that decision.
Right.
And often having a person who is, and that's got to be someone you really trust. Maybe your pastor, if you have no one in your family, or maybe your spouse. That's someone who can just say, do you remember when you told me I could have veto power? Well, I'm going to pull that card here. Will you let me say, take a week?
Yes.
And this is not an indefinite. It's not the presidential veto power or anything like that. It's not an indefinite lord or authority in someone's life. It's just an agreed upon situation where you give someone the right to say no for a few days while you can think about it more clearly,
Right.
and maybe get more counsel.
Yes.
And so that's very important. So that would be what we would say. Do you have any other thought about how to handle difficult parents?
Well, I would say all aging parents, and I may just come to regret that I say this because both David and I, of course, are aging. That is the natural course of this sin-cursed world. But they can all be difficult from time to time, whether it is that they fight you on everything you want to do or everything you're trying to do to help them, or they are overly needy. They have just embraced I just need care, and so I'm not going to do anything for myself that I possibly could do. And maybe they are making demands on you that you just don't need to do. They maybe could go to the grocery store themselves, or they could ask someone else to do it, or whatever. So all of the caregiving, there is a possibility for there to be difficulty. So in the moment, ask the Lord to help you, to help your thoughts not to run amok, to help your words not to become harsh. Ask the Lord to help you to be filled with grace. And it may be something that you need to deal with just very quickly. Try to calm the situation, but then ask the Lord to give you wisdom and do get counsel. Okay, my parent consistently XYZ. What can I do about it? Talk to your spouse, talk to your siblings, and get counsel, get help, and then do what you all have decided is the right thing to do. Okay, maybe mom can be a little harsh from time to time, but she's still not that difficult to care for. Let's just keep doing it, and let's just show her grace. Or it could be mom is very out of control, and she's being mean. She's lashing out at us. She needs to be in a facility where they do know how to handle this.
Yes. So that answers the question of, how do you handle difficult parents? Here's maybe a slightly different scenario there. How do you handle parents with whom you have little or no relationship?
That's hard.
That is a very hard one. And there's only two things I know to tell you here. First of all, you handle that prayerfully. Mm-hmm. You have no relationship. You have maybe just a little bit of a relationship. Well, then pray about it. And by that, not alone. Pray about it with someone else who can give you wise counsel as you are praying. Mm-hmm. So really pray about it and seek counsel. Pray about it and seek counsel. Get as much information as you can from people who know the Lord, love the Lord, and who know you and love you.
Yes.
So you do pray about it. So how do you handle parents whom you have little or no relationship? Prayerfully, and secondly, wisely. If you have no relationship at all with an aging parent, there is a sense probably in which you have no responsibility to be their caregiver.
Right.
My mother, her father walked out of her life when she was 3 years old.
Yeah.
And she never heard from him again. He never returned. He never wrote her. He never reached out to her. The years rolled on. We grew up. We never knew him. We kind of knew his name. I don't know that I'd ever seen a picture of him. And the years rolled on, and somewhere along the way, I got interested, reckon he's alive, and we began doing a little bit of research. My mom actually helped me because she knew a relative who somehow somebody reached out to the relative and said, I think he's living, and here's the last number we had. And so on a whim, I called this man, and here's this old man living in California, and he has no idea who I am. Yeah, he knows my mom, but he hasn't seen her in over 60 years.
Right.
And, the years have flown by, and that's an awkward situation.
Yep.
So he lived to be 97 and did need some caregiving, but my mom had no relationship with him.
Right. And there was no responsibility to do that.
Yeah, she didn't know him. There was some discussion between me and my brother, would there ever be a time? Well, my mom is not strong enough. She has heart issues, so she couldn't care for an aging parent.
They lived a continent away from each other.
They did. So there's just times in which there's nothing you can do about that.
Yes.
If you have a damaged relationship, however, at the closing hours of life, it's still okay to seek to make things right. Mm-hmm. I actually flew my mom and dad, who do not fly, who do not prefer to fly,
right,
and who actually don't prefer to leave their home. But they actually agreed to fly with me to California for a graduation ceremony. But in that process, we knew that they would also have a chance to meet my mom's father.
Right.
And that was a little bit of an awkward, they haven't seen each other in 70 plus years at that time. The years had rolled on. Mm-hmm. And he's on up in his 80s at that time. And it was a hard time. It was a very difficult situation. But it was an opportunity to seek to at least, bring some, element of healing to a difficult situation.
Right.
And so, that's one step you can take. And I would add one more to it. If you cannot make things right, you just may need to allow others to serve as the caregiver, and you serve as a helper when needed.
Right.
I was actually probably more involved in my grandpa's ending years of his life. Our daughter was, because she lived in California. I was, because I would be in California periodically, and he was hard of hearing, and for some reason I could typically communicate to him well enough that he could hear me. And then there was this family that kind of took him in and let him live in their one-bedroom apartment, and they watched over him, and they took care of him, and they got him to his appointments, and he lived with them kind of as a family friend. And so there was a caregiving involved. They would call me for advice on some things, and my mom typically didn't make that advice because she had no relationship.
Right.
My point there being, when there's no relationship at all, don't feel, that you have to beat yourself up and fight this, inward battle about I'm a lousy, kid. And chances are, if your mom and dad have not been a part of your life ever, you already have some wounds there. So you don't need to make those wounds worse in a very difficult time. You just don't need to do that. That's not good for you. It's not good for them. And there's no reason to beat yourself up. So just do the practical thing as much as you can. But if you don't have a relationship, probably this is not the time to start one, unless, there's some situation in which you're like, I think this could happen. And if everybody in your family and everybody in the family, to the best of your ability, is in agreement about it, then certainly you can try things, but you want to be very wise about that. Typically, it's very hard when there's been this kind of a situation where there's no relationship or just a very little relationship. That's a very hard thing for that parent to trust you with their finances, even though they need someone they can trust.
Well, even just to trust you with their care. They don't really know you, and you don't know them. Could it happen? Probably. I mean, it could, where you just decide to be very filled with the Spirit and just step in and help with things. I was thinking, if you are concerned about a parent's spirituality, you have no idea if they have a relationship with Jesus Christ or not, and you somehow hear that they are not doing well physically, it may behoove you to reach out and just say, look, I know we don't have any relationship at all, but I have a relationship with God, and I know He wants a relationship with you. Could we talk about that?
Sure.
And then, at least open the door. And then again, don't beat yourself up if your parent absolutely refuses, but during that time, they may have a more tender heart.
Sure. Well, this has been a kind of a little surprising topic to us. We got quite a few questions about it and just decided let's at least put together some practical advice and wisdom to help perhaps our friends to navigate this. And I do hope it's been a help to you. If you do have any questions, if you do have any resources that you would be aware of that we could make available to those who reach out to us, we'd love to hear from you. And sometimes we'll find a book or a podcast or just a sermon that we can keep in our file. When someone says, I need help in this area, we can send it to them. And I know many of you as our listeners have access to resources that has not even crossed our path in any way, shape, or form.
True.
So please feel free to reach out to us, share those with us. If we can help you, serve you, be a blessing to you, we certainly want to do so. Well, we've come to the end here. You have a final word?
I don't think so. I'm excited about our next series.
Absolutely. Me too. And speaking of that, we'll see you next week for a brand new series. Whatever you do this week ahead, make sure that you serve the Lord with gladness.